My favourite anime studio. This is a discussion that I see quite a lot, and it's an interesting one because for me, most studios don't have much of an identity. I look at some of the bigger establishments and find it hard to find links between their works. A lot of the studios don't even feature the same staff, yet people attach a kind of identity to them. Let's look at a random studio, for example, A1 Pictures. If you have a look at 4 of their recent projects over the last year or so, there isn't one repeat director. In fact, very few of the roles have reoccurring positions, and this is by no means a bad thing for each individual series. They don't necessarily drop in quality because of this, but it does mean the studio lacks identity. And because of this, I find it hard to comment about anime studios as a collective group. Which is a shame because much like following a sports team or a band, it's fun to find a collective group of individuals that you support and enjoy. People that you can identify with on a personal level. I mean, imagine if your favourite sports team played a whole new squad every single week. You'd find it a lot harder to support them. And I find that that's the case with anime studios, but this lack of identity isn't the case for every studio. Sometimes you find a group that you really connect with, a studio that you can enjoy every time they make something. For a very long time, this didn't happen for me. I never really found a studio that I could confidently say, that's my favourite, but recently a studio has popped up that has filled that gap. And to understand this studio, we have to go all the way back to where 2 creators began working together. Misaki Yuasa and Choi, one of the industry's most talented pairings. They first worked together at Madhouse with Kemonozumi in 2006. Yuasa was the director for the project, and Choi would work as an animation director and as an animator. Yuasa had worked in the industry for a considerable time at this point, but this was early in Choi's career, and this period became very formative for her. To work on such an unorthodox project so early in a career is a real test, and she'd done some fantastic work on the show. Yuasa then went on to complete a trilogy of shows at Madhouse, with Choi working on all 3. The aforementioned Kemonozumi, then Kaiba in 2008 and Tatami Galaxy in 2010. 3 crucial shows that would basically give the pairing their reputation in the industry as some of the most creative practitioners available. Choi's style was moulded by her work with Yuasa during this period, and the 2 formed an important stylistic pairing. Their artistic visions fitted well with each other, and they would continue working together. They would work on future projects like Ping Pong and Space Dandy. Over this time, they formed a very unique and recognisable style, and it's all due to them working together again and again. Yuasa has a fantastic way of making the most of his small teams, Choi being a perfect example of who he likes to work with. Let's have a look into her work because she's definitely one of the most underrated individuals in the industry at the moment. Like I said, her style fits very closely to Yuasa's, and not only in the way it looks, but in the way that she can work with resources. She prioritises elements like colour and movement of shapes. Almost all of her scenes have very bold colour choices and interesting compositions. I've also noticed that she likes to play with perspective a lot in her shots, normally having characters or objects cover a lot of distance. And this focus on exciting but simple animation is why she's perfect for working with Yuasa, and is no doubt the reason he continues to work with her. The pair's creativity is undoubtable, and everything they've worked on together has been fantastic. But the nature of their less commercial work means that they have a hard time getting funding. Madhouse's prosperity and willingness to give them a platform was an incredibly unique situation. Almost everything Yuasa has worked on has come from his unique creativity. Producers and other creators go out their way to have him involved in projects. But this approach isn't one that attracts much funding. To be honest, we're very lucky to have had what we've had so far. But with the growing market in niche audiences and in Yuasa's fanbase, they were able to overcome this monetary hurdle and found their own studio, Science Saru. They needed resources to create their projects, and finding another studio that is willing to take such creative risks with every project is near impossible. Ping Pong, for example, was notorious for its struggles to come to fruition. Science Saru is their gateway to showcasing more of their amazing work, giving them freedom and creative control. And they've already done some fantastic work with the studio, showing the possibilities of a studio like this. So let's look at that work they've done at the studio so far and see how it's evolved from their earlier work. One of their first pieces, and personally one of my favourite examples of their style, is Food Chain, an episode the studio created for the TV series Adventure Time. The team done everything from storyboards to animation to even singing the opening theme. Again, Yuasa and his team used their skills in utilising simple shapes to create expressive and exciting motion, using lots of dynamic perspectives and wonderful background art. For example, the way in which the camera moves seamlessly between a 2D and a 3D plane is great, achieved by the lack of boundaries the team put on their visuals. They can switch between a detailed painted background to an animated block colour background very easily. because they build on this sense of animation being a part of the world. You get a feeling that the animation is more than just something to portray the narrative, but a narrative tool in itself. And this is all done with a very impressive level of finesse. The studio's style fits perfectly into the quirky and fun atmosphere of Adventure Time. It's an example of the kind of work that suits Yuasa and his team, and it seems they're less bothered about where they're making things and more what they're making. The studio also took on an episode of Space Dandy's second season. I feel like this is an example of what the studio can do on a larger production. It contains more of that simple shape-based animation, but also a lot of that sketchier, hand-drawn style animation we've seen in previous Yuasa projects, and a possible preview of what's to come. And I'll get to that later in the video. Again, much like Food Chain, there's so much dynamic animation, not necessarily realistic, but exciting. The movements of character models and the relationships to the backgrounds, it's all very, very exciting to watch. And I thought the way they brought the alien world to life with imaginative objects and animations was just superb. They've also done a number of smaller projects as a studio, such as the second opening to Garo the Animation and a number of animation jobs on various Shin-chan movies, further showing the studio's talent and range. Having looked at everything they've done so far, it's clear to me that there are patterns in what I like about them. It's more than just me liking the shows. I like the work ethic and the amount of passion behind each project. I like that Yuasa and Choi have such a vast palette of roles and talents. I think the fact that the individuals of the studio feel like they can stretch their wings and do different roles is great. When you give people creative freedom, their passion really shows, and with passion comes great artistic expression. For me, I watch a Science Saru project not because of what it is, but who it's by, and that is very, very rare in anime studios. But their upcoming works are the ones that will be most important for showcasing what they can do as a studio, and maybe setting a standard for similar establishments. They'll be handling 2 feature films this year and a Netflix series next year. It'll be the busiest time for the studio so far, and an opportunity to see what they can really do. This is more than some commercial studios take on, so it'll be interesting to see how things go. The first film is Night is Short, Walk On Girl, a series connected to the Tatami Galaxy franchise. It's got a lot of the Tatami staff returning and will be sticking quite closely to the TV series. And then later in the year, Lu Over the Wall, a new original film directed by Yuasa, and personally it might be one of my most anticipated projects from Yuasa and his team. From the trailer, it seems the movie fits perfectly into the studio's style, while offering a chance to delve into new areas. Looks like a nice mixture of all of Yuasa's previous works, with maybe a more solid art style. I feel like a lot of the elements in this movie will be more grounded compared to his other works, and it'll be interesting to see how the studio handles that. I've always wondered how Yuasa and his team would handle something less abstract, and I'm very excited. And of course next year's Devilman, which might stray furthest from what Science Saru have done before. For those that don't know, Devilman was originally a manga series in the 70s that's had a myriad of adaptations from novels to anime. Again, this is a great opportunity for the studio to explore another avenue of visual style. If they can succeed at this, I feel like they can do anything. What's interesting about this project is that it's going straight onto Netflix, which has been a recurring theme for series and movies over here in the West for a while now. Shows like Stranger Things have been met with fantastic success. It could signify an important development in the distribution of anime. Projects like this mean that more niche works can meet a larger audience, and don't have to fit into a TV or cinema template. There's a lot more room for experimentation here. So Science Saru is obviously prospering in one way or another. This isn't just 1 or 2 random projects getting funding anymore. Saru are very, very busy, and they've not lost that unique style of doing things. Yuasa and his team have managed to find a way of bringing their art to life without compromise, and this is amazing for them. And is it a sign of things to come for other directors? Will more experimental, smaller studios making feature films and TV series be a viable market? I'd love to think so, and services like Netflix must be the future. When you look at the huge number of Netflix original shows we have in the West, there must be a market for niche art, big enough to fund tens of shows every year, and why couldn't that translate into anime? We know Yuasa has a large following in the West. A quick look at any of the Western database sites proves this, but it's all about connecting them with the works of the creators. Netflix and other streaming services could be the answer to that. Could this even be the future for smaller streaming services like Crunchyroll and Funimation? I guess we'll just have to wait and find out, but be sure to share your thoughts about this in the comments. It's definitely something I'm hugely interested in. But I can safely say Science Saru is without a doubt my favourite anime studio at the moment. It's exactly what I look for in a set of creative individuals. I genuinely feel like I enjoy everything they make, and I feel like they have an identity. I can understand the passion and creativity of the studio whenever I watch one of their shows. I'm glad I've found a studio like this too. It brings an extra level of enjoyment to their work. It means I can really look forward to upcoming works and really connect with the studio. But let me know in the comments if there is a studio that you feel the same way about. And if you're interested in checking out any other similar videos by myself, you can click any of them on the screen. And if you enjoyed this video, please do click the like button and subscribe if you've not done so already. Thank you very much for watching.